Okay, so I'm going to briefly talk about modes and maybe a way to think about modes and maybe a way to not think about them. So if you're playing, say, let's start in G, so G major scale, if you know all your modes, you've got G major, then it'll be A Dorian, B Phrygian, C Lydian, D Mixolydian, E Aeolian or natural minor, and then the F Locrian scale. Now, if you don't, a lot of people think of this in relation to G, or the major scale. In this case, it is G. So A Dorian, they might think, well, it's G major, but it's up 2 steps. B Phrygian is G major, but it's up like 2 whole tones. C Lydian is G major. But do you actually know the intervallic structure of each mode? Because really, does A Dorian have much to do with G major? Well, not really, because it's based around a minor chord, isn't it? And if you're constantly referring back to G major, or your major scale number 1, you know, all right, I'm playing in E minor, so that's 6, what scale is that? It's extra thinking time. So a good thing to do is to be able to know intervals of each mode, and then once you learn the other more complicated scales like melodic minor and the mini scales, then you can apply the same thing to this. Maybe not diminish, but melodic minor, and harmonic major scales. So if you play them all off the one root position, then you can see it helps you just see things in a slightly different way. So if you think of G major, so we'll stay in G in this case, G major, G Dorian, G Phrygian, G Lydian, G Mixolydian, G natural minor, G Locrian, then you get to see all the different intervallic structures. So I'll just go through these briefly in one octave, so from G to G. That's all you really need to know. Then you could go and I could supply a PDF where you go and you just learn off the PDF. But if you actually take this and just think about each mode and start applying it across the different octaves across the guitar, then you don't have to try and memorise, because you're kind of working it out. You're actually kind of memorising it. It should be sticking it in kind of in your memory as you go. Something you need to do the work, you know, to actually learn things, and that's the way to do the work. So I'll just go through them in one octave. So you've got G major, so we would call that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, major 7. Okay. You could play everything with a G note in the background, or if you put a backing track on like a root note, then you can hear the actual sound of the scale. So it's based off a G major, or if you make it a 7th, a G major 7th chord. Okay, so it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so that's that really nice sound in the major 7 there. It's a great sound. But has a dissonance, you can hear it kind of rattling away there. And that's called the leading note. It just wants to head back up there. Now, if you think, oh well, G major's A Dorian, bring that down to there. You can take it from G, and then you can pair everything off the G major scale. So what's different? Well, the third's different. So we've got a flat third. That is a minor scale, so all minor scales have flattened thirds. 4th, 5th, 6th, and then you've got the flattened 7th, then to the root note. Okay, so you can pair everything to the major scale. Then if we take shape 3, which is the Phrygian mode, and you compare that to the major scale, what do we have? Well, in the first 3 notes, they've changed these two. So instead of 1, 2, 3, we've got 1, flat 2, flat 3. Okay, so that flat 2, it's quite a dark sound. It's on top, it's the F flat now. So it's 1, flat 2, flat 3. We've got a 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, and then the root note. Okay, so what's after that? We've got the Lydian mode, so it goes over chord 4, which is another major 7. So if we bring that down, it's that shape. So what is it compared to the major scale? Well, first 3 notes are the same, so it's 1, 2, 3, but then we've got this note. It's called a sharp 4. You might recognise it's a flat 5th from the blues scale. Was it there? Can never remember. Quite a dissonant note. You'll find this hiding in dominant 7 chords. And then apart from that, it's the same as the major scale. This is also, if you know the theme from The Simpsons, it's got quite a spacey feel to it. It's quite nice. Okay, then the next one up is mode 5, which goes over the 7th chord. So move down to G, so it goes over G7. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So everything's the same as the major scale at this point, apart from this note, flat 7. So that's the difference between major 7 and then dominant 7. So it's still a major chord, but we're changing the 7th note, so nice pretty whole thing. And then the flat 7th's your more, your kind of bluesier sound. Okay, the mode 6 is the natural minor scale, so if we compare that again to the major scale, you've got 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6. Realise I'm doing it in a stretched position, flat 7, and then root note, your octave. I always think of this as your kind of classical minor. Maybe to me, it's just the strict minor sound. I suppose a more classical minor sound is the harmonic minor sound, because you actually find it all the time in classical music. But me, it's just it goes over a minor 7 chord. I like using this. You hear a lot of metal guys use it. It's got that flat 6. And people tend to use Dorian modes. If you compare it to Dorian mode, it's got a major 6. It's a bit happier sounding. Okay, we've got the flat 6 on. Okay, then the last one in the major scale set is the Locrian mode. Now I'm going by these quite quick, so I'm presuming that you've maybe been somebody that's learned the 3 note per string and been through the modes, but this is just maybe to help you just see the modes a little bit better. So I'm not presuming, it's certainly not modes at a beginner level. You can message me or whatever, and I can maybe do a lesson that's a bit more broken down. So the last mode, you're comparing the intervals, is the Locrian mode. So people tend to think of this in the major scale, a half step up. Again, try not to see it like that. So you're thinking G sharp major, but we start in G. It's got nothing to do with that. See, it's starting in G. So you've got root note, you've got the flat 2, or you may call that the flat 9 if you think of it higher up. You've got a flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7. So it's got all the flat note. Well, it doesn't have all the flat notes, but it's the most altered. And this goes over a minor 7 flat 5 chord. Probably the least used mode in kind of rock and pop. You'll see a little bit more in jazz. I tend to use other options in over minor 7 flat 5 chords, such as the melodic minor and even just arpeggios, using a minor flat 5 arpeggio, but it's good good to know. Okay, so when you're playing these over a backtrack, you should probably think of the sound of the mode as well. So I explained that the Lydian mode is quite spacey sound. So the major scale is just plain major. Okay, Dorian mode, it's over a minor 7 chord. So it's like, it has a minor pentatonic scale inside of it, as several of these other ones do. It's kind of, almost think of it as like jazzy. But with some nicer notes. The Phrygian, I always think of Phrygian, the third mode, anytime I hear that half step. For me, I don't use the mode much, but I always think it is more kind of metal sound. And darker because it's got the flat 9 in there. Mode 4, the Lydian, the Simpsons theme tune, spacey. If you've ever listened to Flying in a Blue Dream by Joe Satriani, then how does he get the sound out? I think it's the Lydian mode, but he modulates it through like 2 or 3 different keys, so it gets that kind of sound. The 5th mode, the Mixolydian, it goes over dominant 7 chords. So I think it is kind of funky. It's major 7, but again with a flat 7, so it sounds a bit more serious. It's a good one to mix with the minor pentatonic. Okay, then you've got natural minor, which I explained. It's kind of straightforward minor, it doesn't have the kind of funky flat 9 the Phrygian mode does. But it does have a flat 6, so it's not as happy as the Dorian mode. What's a famous example? Crazy Train, so if you play it from F sharp. Which would be written as an A key signature, but it's based around. Again, pentatonic appears in that scale. And then the last one, it's just minor 7 flat 5. So I've explained in the previous video, with minor 7 flat 5, it can be quite useful as a substitution for other chords as well. It can sound quite good in that context. So that is just a kind of brief explanation of maybe seeing the modes in a slightly different way, rather than always, if you're one of these players who relates back to what major scale it comes from, start to see it as its own scale, because really that's what it is. I know in the guitar it's very pattern based, and it's very easy to let your fingers just fly up and down the neck and not really have to think too much about what you're doing, as long as you're in the right key and you've got the right shape. But starting to recognise the intervals can be really useful, and kind of starts exercising your brain as well as your fingers, you know, and your kind of awareness. And it really opens the door for learning other scales. And eventually, well, scales are good as a grouping together of notes to create a certain sound. However, eventually, if you're learning 7-note scales, you're only 5 notes away from all 12 notes that are available to you if you discount like in between microtones or whatever, but unless you're going to chart those out, then yeah, it'll help your understanding. Any weird esoteric scale or you come across, then you can compare it to the major scale. Also, the thing by known intervals of the scale, sometimes you'll get scales that are the same scale, they'll come in different names, so it'll allow you to see that and maybe save yourself learning the same thing twice over, or wasting your time even before you get to that point. Okay, I do have lessons available on Patreon. There'll be a link in the bottom of the video. Also to my Facebook page, and obviously this will be on YouTube, so you can get me at any of those. I don't really do private lessons as much anymore, but I was doing them via Skype. I've done them for about 20 years, but I do the occasional one for some pupils that I've had for many years, and yeah, for long-standing pupils. But if you want any private lessons, you can contact probably Patreon's the best place for that. Okay, cheers.